God does not use the normal visible means that we use to bring about His miracles. And so when you pray for your boss or for a certain situation at work where there's tension and conflict, and then you start coming in the next day looking to see if he's a little gentler in his walk, or if he slammed the door a little less than he did before, or you begin to look at your colleague and see, are they being a little kindly to me? You're immediately walking by sight and not by faith, and you're preventing God continuing His work, because His work is done apart from the visible means and methods that you and I normally accept and understand. That's the first thing that I think God is trying to say to us through Palm Sunday. That God listens to your prayer and mine, and in response to our faith, He is operating. And He expects you to walk by faith and not by sight. Because if you walk by sight, you're looking for visual signs that He doesn't even need. That's why, in a way, Susan's situation is not as bad as we all think. You know, with the metastases, she's the lady, remember, that is in Switzerland and has so much cancer all through her body that her little baby pokes her rib, you know, and breaks it. Because God heals independent of physical signs or symptoms or physical means. He doesn't gradually make you better and better. He doesn't actually even need to make you better in the world's eyes. He obviously, with a gaping wound in his side and holes in his hands, He is able to maintain physical life without the normal physical symptoms that we associate with health. But loved ones, there's something else that God is saying through the Palm Sunday thing. I mean, after all, you must admit, the Creator actually did not make it easy for us to believe that Jesus was the King. I mean, He made Him ride on a donkey. I mean, that's what a clown rides on, a donkey. It's such a silly-looking little animal. You don't put a king on a donkey. Why did the Creator put His Son, the King of all the universe, on a donkey? Why didn't He put Him at least on a strong horse, or maybe a white charger, or something that would help us to believe that He was the King? Here's the answer. Visible means actually hinder faith. Visible means actually hinder faith. I know it sounds strange to us, but the presence of visible means actually hinders our faith. You know this, so you needn't be surprised. You know that you have sunk utterly and completely into God when the thing was absolutely, to human eyes, hopeless. That's when you had your deepest moments of faith in God, when the thing was absolutely hopeless. Because the truth is, we constantly think that visible means, you know, if a thing looks as if it might, with a little help from God's grace, work, then we'll be able to have faith. No, we won't. Visible means actually hinder faith. Visible means encourage you to hope that the thing might still turn out right by its own natural power and prevent you from leaning utterly and completely on God. And the proof of that, you know, is that event that we read about in Abraham's life. If you'd just like to look at it, it's Romans 4:18. It's stated very plainly there, that whole principle. Romans chapter 4 and verse 18. It's page 980, Romans 4 and verse 18. You remember God promised Abraham, who was 100 years of age, and Sarah, who was 90, that they were going to have a baby, which was somewhat of a surprise to them. And then you find in Romans 4 and 18 there, in hope Abraham, he believed against hope, that he should become the father of many nations, as he had been told, so shall your descendants be. Do you see that? In hope, he believed against hope. Actually, in divine hope that God would do what he had said he would do, he had to believe in that divine hope against his human hope. Because all of us are buoyed up by visible means. We all are. Okay, there's this old lady, 90 years of age. And if we can see, well, she looks remarkably sprightly for a 90-year-old, then there begins to creep into our minds the thought, well, maybe she could have a child, who knows? I mean, maybe she's a remarkable woman. But if she's 90 and obviously old and almost at death's door, and you are 100 and you're worn out and your body is finished, then there's no hope from the body. There's no hope from the visible means. There's no human hope. Human hope is looking at things as they are in this natural world and hoping that by the normal laws of health and nature, the thing will turn out all right. And it's interesting that Abraham had to ditch that hope completely in order to believe in real hope, in the hope that God would keep his promise. That whatsoever you desire when you pray, believe that you receive it and you will have it. Now, loved ones, it's the same for us. Visible means are actually a detriment and a disadvantage to faith because they keep us from putting our whole faith in God, and they keep stealing away some of our faith that maybe it'll come about anyway by natural means. All you have to do, Lord, is give it a little bit of a push. And God wants us to see plainly that there is only one power on earth that will heal us, and there's only one power on earth that will deliver us and answer us in our difficulties, financial, domestic, emotional, and that is his power. And his power not only works apart from visible means, but actually is hindered by visible means and by the presence of visible means. Why else did God arrange for nobody in that crowd of 5,000 to have any food with them except one little guy who had 5 loaves and 2 fish? Why? Why else did God arrange for the only man in all of Saul's army who would volunteer to fight against Goliath? Why did he arrange for that man to be the youngest little son of Jesse's family of boys? Why else did God arrange for the reduction of Gideon's 32,000 possibly victorious soldiers, to reduce it down to the utterly sure to be defeated 300? If it weren't for the fact that God is determined to show us that faith in him does not come from looking at the visible means, looking at the industry averages, and calculating the odds, and then saying, with a little bit of help from our friends, with a little bit of help from God, maybe we'll pull this off. God wants us to see that two are antagonistic to each other. Visible means does not help faith.